Welcome everyone to Solomon's Crown. So today, guys, we're going to talk about a topic that I know personally for me has hit home a lot, has hit home super hard. I don't know about Will too much, but we'll get into it. But long story short, we're going to talk about school tuition and the cost of college in general in America and how it compares to other countries. So just to go into a little synopsis of my background and my experience with student loans. Um, so when I came from Jamaica, from the high school system there, I took the SATs. I didn't really have much research done on my part, which is my bad. So basically, I took the SATs, passed it. The timeline that was set in stone, that was set for me, was kind of messed up. So I pretty much got into a private school. Granted, I got a scholarship for half of my tuition, and that was back in 2009 when I started my freshman year. And the tuition for that school, I think it was the FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck, New Jersey. It was like $28,000 plus, right? And that was just the tuition. That wasn't room and board. That was $20,000. And so I got half of that in a scholarship. So I was paying $14,000 pretty much every semester. And then by the time I get to my sophomore year, or I was about to go into my senior year rather, I just couldn't afford it anymore. And by that time I had $45,000 in student loans. And at that point I was like, at that point I was like, I can't do this.
And how old were you when you had $45,000 in student debt?
So I was 22 year-old with $45,000 in debt.
I mean, you said 20 in general. So
yeah. So I think I saw one of this other Jamaican dude that he went into the Air Force. He actually got a job as an air traffic controller, and he was in Misawa. So I was like, I'm trying to go to Japan.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pay these loans anymore. I can't, because even with that, I was in a STEM career. I was a biology major with a concentration in biotech. So it's not like I was doing an art degree or anything. And I was looking for not to bash people.
I get it.
But I was like going all over town looking for internships, looking for like entry-level jobs at labs and everything. And it was hard. And I was like, man, how am I going to pay this off in the next 2 years when I graduate?
Yeah. So question. Yeah. Did the Air Force let you in with student debt?
Yeah. I had to get wavered in. Before I got in, I was working and I was paying it off. I was making payments. So
yeah.
I got wavered in for that.
I got wavered in, but mine was a different story. I'll tell you after.
But yeah, man, that was pretty much my experience with student loans. I'm almost done. Granted, I didn't attack it as aggressively as I should have when I was in, but it's less than 10 grand right now, and that's me paying every month. And this is just a broader issue. This is just my example. And this is a broader issue. And before I let Will go, this whole argument, or this whole, we decided to do this video because I think it's really important for the young people. And I saw this meme by a Representative Crenshaw, I believe, a Republican. I don't remember which state he's in. I want to say he's California now, or Texas. I could be wrong. But he's a Republican representative, senator. And I think he had this popular meme going around where he was saying that, I guess it was the time when Bernie Sanders was trying to go for president, and he was saying that, people trying to get free college tuition on the backs of, hardworking Americans who never went to college, that's immoral. Because I guess on the left side of things, they were saying it's immoral that they're having kids pay all this money to go to school. But on the right, they're saying that it's immoral for letting hardworking Americans who didn't have a degree to pay for people who are trying to get a degree that they're not getting a job in. That's basically me paraphrasing. So it just brings me to this conclusion. Like, what do you think, Will? Do you think why is student loans or tuition so high? Should we get free college or should people work for it? What do you think, Will?
I mean, the thing about it is like, so people paying for college is fine.
Mhm.
The ridiculous amounts that they pay for colleges, I think, is like
Mhm.
a little ridiculous. But I mean, you think about it, most of these colleges are private colleges to a
Mhm.
certain extent. So private colleges are generally going to cost more. You go to community college, you pay like half the amount. But the thing is like a lot of these lower level colleges don't offer the same degree plans as most of these big colleges. Like I wanted to be a computer engineer, but based off of my career field and what I'm doing right now, I can only get a computer science degree. Now, does that mean I won't go back later on and do the courses to get my second degree and things like that? Maybe not at this point, but at one point, that's what I was thinking about. And
Yeah.
truthfully, I mean, I could get college paid for through the military and everything like that, but it's just not worth it to me anymore. The older
Mhm.
that I got, I mean, education is good, but it's not the end all be all. And I think that coming out of high school, they tell us a lot of like, oh, you need to go to college, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's really not that serious. Like, you think about it, like, what does going to college mean for you? It means going into debt over student loans unless you have a full ride scholarship. And even like these grants and scholarships are not always enough to cover the full cost. And you're almost setting yourself up for failure, especially if you're not financially stable or never been financially stable or know how to deal with money and debt and time management and all these things that you learn over the course of growing up and being an adult. So there's a very small percentage of students who go to college, know how to deal with debt, don't party, don't go out, don't do this and that, whatever they're doing with their money, extra money, things like that. They work a job on top of going to school. But how many of those are like the vast majority of students?
Oh.
It's very far in between, like when it comes to that. So with that being said, I mean, you said that, so explain to me exactly. They're saying that people going to college or people who've never gone to college shouldn't have to pay for people going to college.
You know what? I should have. We're probably gonna bring this meme up, but
Okay.
just paraphrasing, could be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Don't quote me on this, but it goes along the lines of the argument that Bernie Sanders and people and his supporters were saying that it's immoral for
Mm-hmm.
kids 18 and between 18, college years,
Yeah.
going into school, into getting all this debt. It's immoral for them. That's why they're advocating free college.
Mm-hmm.
Where Representative Crenshaw was saying that it's immoral for hardworking, like blue collar Americans, like tradesmen and
Mm-hmm.
tradeswomen who didn't go to college, to pay taxes to let people go to college based on their tax money. That's immoral.
But
Our counter argument.
okay, so let's think about this. Like, okay, so you have the rich getting richer as the normal. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to help people who are not doing any things with their lives. They don't want to pay for government assisted programs and things like this. They just want to collect their money and do what with it? Like, go spend money. I mean, this is not saying like if you have money you shouldn't spend it on whatever you want, because you put the time and effort into owning that and things like that. But like, think about the things that you enjoy. Like, you want to pay, I mean, what if we just raise the prices on everything that you want to enjoy, like vacations, plane tickets, things like this? Like, as a society, we have to look at it as everybody has to play their part in society. You can't, even if you make money, at some point you're going to have to put this money into something that's supposed to help society. It's not just about making your own money and living your life and not thinking about like generations to come, like, because our lifespan is so short. And it's like, yo, you can't take the money with you. So it's like you hoard it, you do all these things that you feel like are right, like, oh, I'm enjoying my money and things like that. But like, what are you doing for the economy? What are you doing for the United States in general? Because we all live in the United States, and at some point, the downsides of like all this, like pretty much the repercussions are going to catch up. Like students paying student loans for years, like what I mean, they graduate college 23, 24, depending on how fast, maybe even longer than that, and they literally pay off student loans for the next 10 years sometimes. Like, I mean, even if they don't do that, but like by the time that they're done paying off student loans, this is just the average person. You have those hyper active people who are just like are hyper aggressive, like, okay, I'm going to pay off my student loans in 5 years, 2 years, things like that, and be done with it. For everybody else who can't necessarily get a job that's going to pay them enough to pay off their student loans, things like that, you're going to have to go into, like, you're really going to have to bunker down. But that's the thing, is like, they come out of college and they can't even get most of the jobs that they went to college for. So it's just like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, and the thing is like, okay, so these are our future doctors, our future architects, engineers, all types of stuff. And people were like, oh, well, I don't want to invest into them. Like, you're thinking about the negatives of the situations. Like, I don't want to invest into the lower half of people, but you're not thinking about all the things that the top half can do if they didn't have debt. So, I mean, this is never, I think this is the biggest thing that is going on in America in general. It's just like, and this is a bigger problem than just student loans. It's just nobody can agree on anything. Like, there's no solution.
There's no solution.
It's either
you're on the right or you're on the
wrong.
left.
Exactly. And it's like, there's no in between. They couldn't even come together and agree on like, all right, we need to solve these 10 problems. Let's just agree on these 10 things, and then everything else can be like our strong beliefs and things like that. And it's just like, at what point do we stop, bro? Like, it's truthfully just getting annoying, because people are suffering, people are going through things, people aren't able to grow because we can't come to terms with, like, okay, somebody's gonna have to pay for something, like, at some point, bro.
So, you just talking has got me thinking. A lot of people think that, growing up in the hood or whatever is a trap, right? Like, everyone talks about the trap in the hood, like, I need to make it out of the hood, whether that's, doing illegal things or, being an entertainer, being a basketball player. Low key, I feel like nowadays, even being in the suburbs, being a square from the suburbs is a trap in and of itself. Because we were talking about education in our last video. Check it out, right? Check it out, guys. So we talk about the American education system, and how people, the kids are just tested. They know no real life skills. Like, I can attest for myself, I didn't know about stocks and all that stuff until I was in the military. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to do taxes. They don't know anything about finances. They don't know anything about business, nothing about money, right? And it's even worse with social media, because, they're on their phones and they're following the latest trends and everything. So by the time they get to college, right, the college is just, I think the tuition has gone up 129% from the 60s. And it's just like, they sell you this dream of like, oh, I'm gonna go to college and I'm a party and all this stuff. And I think college has come from a place where people go to become professionals and to make money and to be a contributing member to society, to an over glorified babysitting area, like a daycare for young adults. That's what it's become. And it's like, unless your parents put it in you, put the fear of God in you, being like, yo, you're gonna get this degree, or you have it within yourself, but like, yo, I'm gonna get this degree, I'm gonna buckle down, I'm not gonna party all the time, I'm gonna buckle down. It's like a lot of people get lost in the sauce with this, man. I was the same way too. I mean, granted, I really, really wanted to go in the medical field. Like, that was my passion from I was a little boy. I had the chemistry sets and all that stuff. Like, I wanted to do that, but I couldn't do it because I didn't know anything about money. No one was helping me. And just to go into what you were talking about, it's kind of one of the things that I think a lot of American people are stuck on, the hyper capitalism, right? Where I get it. I totally agree with doing things on your own merit, right? You know, working for what you own, and no one should like kind of mooch off of you, or no one should dictate how you spend your money because you work for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like there's a lot of bums, but there's also a lot of people that need help with school, right? There's also a lot of knowledge that could be passed down, because not everyone needs to go to school. Some people can go to trades. Like if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. I probably would have gone in the military, done 4 years, then went to college. But it's just, people don't realize we're so stuck on, like, a lot of people, I think conservatives are so stuck on, like, oh, like, you know, they need to work and need to work, and it's like,
bro, people can't work because they
can't work. There's no jobs,
yeah,
right?
there's
no jobs like that.
There are jobs, but it's just like, I mean, think about it. Like, we joined the military. Like, I'll give you a little background on me. So I worked since I was like 14. I had 3 jobs prior to like my whole situation of joining the military, and I wasn't even going to college, bro. This was just to pay like car insurance, gas, groceries, like just living expenses in general. And I was 18. I mean, granted, I went to college for 2 different semesters at 2 different colleges, but it just wasn't it, bro. Like, I paid like almost $1,200. Everybody was on that, you got to get FAFSA, and like, what was that other loan?
I don't remember FAFSA.
Yeah, there was another loan, but essentially everybody was just like, oh, like, you got to get on this, and so you can pay for college, and this is easy, this and that. But like, I go and sit in class, and I was just like, yo, this is high school all over again. But now it's just
pretty much.
So then I was like, I'm sitting in this class, and the only classes that were really intriguing to me was interpersonal communications, and that's why I wanted to go into psychology for a little while. And I might low-key, after I finish this computer science degree, I might go back and then do my psychology classes. And my goal was to become a psychologist and be a computer engineer. Just kind of like, I mean, that's just what I wanted to do. So I mean, it's still something that is definitely in my future, but just going to school, I just wasn't doing anything. So then I dropped out. I got a job, and I had a job already, so I was doing that on the weekends. And then I got another job at Vaughn's, and I was doing that. And then I got a third job at the stadium, because the stadium was like seasonal. It was like whenever the Aztecs played, or the Chargers, San Diego Chargers, or like motocross or any of that stuff. Like, whenever they had something there, I would just go there, and I make like an extra like $700 working like 3-4 days. Like, so that was like, oh, this is like my spending money. But as I started going through that, bro, like, it was just like, I found more reasons not to go back to college. Like, my sister ended up going to college. She fell behind on 1 semester, so she had to do makeup classes and everything like that, and she had to pay for all that stuff. So my mom had to take out a second loan on the house and everything like that, and that's just to get 1 kid through college. So it's just like, it took years to get past all this stuff. And truthfully, like my sister, she's better off now. She's doing whatever she's doing. I'm not going to put all her information on blast, but she's definitely in a better place to be successful. But even with her graduating college, she joined the Navy, bro. Like, it wasn't, she still had student loans that she had to pay off. And that was with my mom also paying on top of that. So it's like, my mom paid to a certain point, and then she was like, okay, now that you're stable, like, you're going to take over your student loans. So it's like one of those things where it's a never ending cycle. And it's like, my sister could have been, she wanted to be a veterinarian, and it's like, now she's changed her career path essentially, and going into something else. But it's just one of those things where like the debt was like a big hindrance to like progression. And I mean, I got a little bit off topic, but for the most part, like, I saw myself not wanting that much debt. And truthfully, I've been out of debt 3 times in my lifetime. And it's always the same thing as I mean, I'm a hyper aggressive type of person when it comes to that. So like, when I'm paying off debt, like, I'm not going out, I'm eating like the bare minimums. Like I'm putting all my extra money into my debt, period. Like it's like, yo, come out. No, like, bro, I do that for a year or two. Like it don't matter, because the end goal is what matters. And truthfully, it's not everybody is built like that, bro. Like, I mean, to just literally get your paycheck, pay your bills, put like $200-$300 extra towards your student loans so that it can be paid off, and just not seeing any progress for like a year, that's hard.
Rough, man.
It's super hard. And it's so much more that goes into it, of course, because not everybody has been as privileged as I was or my sister was. And truthfully, my mom made a lot of sacrifices for us. She was a single mother. She worked her job as a teacher. And after she got off of school, she would go to school, and she worked on her master's degree while raising both of us. She was in the Army as an officer prior to having me, and she got out. And truthfully, like, she's always worked, and she's getting closer to retirement now. But it's like, I'm 32 years old and my mom is just getting ready to retire in the next 4 to 5. We were talking about it, and it's like, if I stay in the military and I retire, we're going to retire at the same time. And I'm her
That's
son.
crazy.
Like, my mom had me at 28, and it's like, she's retiring and I'm retiring at the same time. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it because building a relationship with my mom is something that I've been working on for sure. Because as you get older, you realize all the sacrifices that she made. And the thing is like, she was raising 2 children by herself, still going to college, still like providing everything that we needed. And in turn, it did make me and my sister more independent and help us grow. But I mean, as you can see, like, I'm not in college. Like, I'm not, like, if she would have had to put both of us through college, bro, like,
it had been rough. Yeah,
like super rough. And the thing is like, what was the point of me doing that? Like, pretty much, a lot of people are sacrificing their livelihoods to send their kids to college. And I mean, parents are making the ultimate sacrifices, to be honest, so that their kids can make it through college. And then it's like, their kids make it through college and they can't even really give back to their parents because they're in debt. Like, I mean, I saw a video on YouTube where a girl was in debt $106,000, like, or $106,000. And it's like, bro, like,
what was she doing?
I'm not sure what her degree was, but it was like, that's a lot of money in general. Like, and you're paying for school. And she was just like, she had to look at college as, or when she got out of college and she had to work and pay off these bills, she was like, I'm gonna work. Like, she pretty much worked herself to death, essentially, because you got to think, like, you got to work at least 2 jobs to pay off $106,000 of debt. Like, if not 3. And she was like, she had to hustle on the side. So she was probably like, I mean, the things I used to do back when I was in San Diego was like, I'd sell cans. Like, I'd go to the recycling center, sell cans for gas money, food at some point. Like, and that was with me having a job. So I'd have a job because I got shot and I had to pay my hospital bills. And that goes back to us talking about like being waived to get in the military. I had to pay on that. And then when I went to go join the military, they were like, well, you got $15,000 in medical bills. Like, we can't let you in with that unless you pay off some of this medical bill. And luckily I had some money saved up from my grandfather, and I was able to pay off the $10,000. And then with the money I had left, I think it was like, I had like $3,000 left over after that. So I put the $3,000 towards the other $5,000, and I had like $2,000 left in debt. And they were like, yeah, like, we can get you in with this. But like, that became like my first like big debt that I had to like pay off when I was younger, because like, I mean, that was another thing. I didn't have insurance at the time. So that could have crippled me. Like, for the rest of my life. If I wasn't able to get in the military at that point, bro, like, I don't know what I was going to do. I was in the middle of the recession. So there was no jobs in San Diego. Like, bro, like, let me put this into perspective. So I lost all my jobs. essentially because I got shot and then I couldn't work. And my whole mentality changed. Like, so I lost my job at Vaughn's because it was seasonal. I lost my job at JCPenney's because I literally could not do the task. I was package pickup. I was taking big packages from upstairs, downstairs, loading them into people's cars and stuff like that. I couldn't. And in the apartments that I was working at, they had a reform because there was some shady stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
And they were pretty much like, hey, we firing everybody. Like, yo, these numbers ain't adding up. And I was like, that's crazy. But so they fired everybody, bro. Like new management, everything. So like, and this was right when the recession hit. And I remember listening to Young Jeezy when he dropped the recession, bro. He was like, yo, it's a recession, ain't no jobs, gas is like $5, bro. Like people were driving like 40 minutes away to get gas on the cheaper side of town because like, bro, Spring Valley had the cheapest gas, bro. Like every place. So Spring Valley had like gas for maybe like $3.40. And then everywhere else was like $5, bro, like no cap. So it was like you kind of had to be like, hey, we gotta go through Spring Valley to before we go anywhere just to get gas. And then at that point, you were kind of just like, yo, we gotta stay on this side of town. But like, bro, that line used to be like down the street to get gas.
I remember those lines,
cheapest gas, bro. Like, and it was that serious, bro. But yeah, I mean, let me just get us back on topic. So you go ahead and but that's the thing is like, it's a whole lot more that can be talked about as far as like how student loans can affect somebody, like what people are going through essentially. And that's just to give a backstory on like everything I went through. And I'm still going back to college, but I'm doing it in a different way because now the military is paying for me to go to college. And even with that being said, I mean, if you fail a class, you got to pay for it, but it's a lot. I don't have student loans, like when it comes down to it. Like I literally just use whatever I can. So now I am limited to what I can do because I'm capped. So every quarter I only get a certain amount of money. So if I I think last like June, July, I was tapped out. Like I didn't have any more money to do classes. And I would have had to come out of pocket because I've been taking 2 classes a semester. So it's like, I was kind of just like, well, like, what do I do? Like I could either pay out of pocket, which is like $750 per credit or per course, or I could just wait.
Per course. But quick tip, I think you can apply for Pell Grants and stuff for your undergraduate to help you pay for that. Yeah. But to go back on topic.
Yeah, that's just a backstory to kind of put things into perspective.
To give you guys more of a perspective, on Will's side of things. So just to reiterate my whole thing about not being no jobs. Not necessarily there isn't no jobs available, but I think not everyone can be a doctor, lawyer, whatever, but not everyone wants to be a doctor. Not everyone wants to be like a plumber or a tradesperson or whatnot, right? So whether you think it's immoral or not right to help kids who deserve it, who have the grade point average, who have the aptitude to do a specific course or a specific major, it's gonna affect us because the amount of debt that these kids have, how are they going to contribute to society? They're not gonna spend anything back in the economy because they have all this debt, as Will was talking about. And a lot of people, I know back when I was going to college, they went elsewhere for college. They went to like in the Caribbean, or they go to Europe, and these places like you can go to college for free, you can go to med school for free and whatnot. But
you pay for the semester essentially.
But
exactly. the semester, bro, is like maybe 170 to like 300 euro, which is equivalent to like 400, 500, but that's like semester year. So from what I've been told, so like you pay for 1 year of schooling, and you can go into like a lot of different career fields, like police officer, aircraft mechanics, things like that. plumber, police officer, and you're paying like $600-700 for the year of school, where Americans are paying like 10,000 for a year. I mean, if not more. Community college is at least $3,000-4,000 for a year of
Yeah,
school.
at least.
I mean, and that's probably, I haven't been to school in a long time in America, so who knows what it is now. I mean, I went to school back in like 2008, 2000,
Uh,
yeah, nine.
yeah. So just to give you perspective, I think when I left school and I started, my tuition at that private school was 28,000. When I left, I think the tuition was like at 30 something thousand,
For a
and then
year.
recent, yeah, for the year, and that's
Mhm.
just going to school. That's not room and board and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then by the time I left, by the time when I came back to the States back in like 2018, I heard it was like 50,000 just for to go to school.
Well, inflation, of course. So we'll
Yeah,
talk about
inflation
that
and all
on
that stuff.
another. Yeah. Because
But it's just like I even heard I think countries like Germany and pretty much European countries, like we pay 20,000 more than them just
yeah,
off of administrative costs. Like
yeah,
professors actually haven't been getting that much of a pay raise. It's literally all the ancillary positions and whatnot that the money's going to, and it's just kind of crazy like how expensive school is, and all it is just like amenities and all this stuff that's not doing anything for the kids learning, for the young people's learning. And if this keeps up, people are just not gonna go to school anymore.
well, I
Like,
mean, it's already
yeah,
happening. Like,
it's
people are
already
becoming
happening.
influencers, people are becoming content creators.
Hmm.
I mean, dudes are streaming full time. And the thing
Hmm.
is like they're making money doing this stuff.
I
So
mean,
it's like, I mean, people were, I mean, you see, I posted the other day where it's like five friends put in $50 a week for two
hmm
years and they bought their first rental property. Like, I mean, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with my closest friends. And I mean, going into business with each other, because it's like, I get it. People always say don't go into business with friends and family. But like, if you literally go into business with friends and family, you draw up a contract, you treat it like a business partner. Uh,
hmm
at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, like, you go to court and you handle it. I mean, the friendship may or may not be over after that, but like, if you can't handle it in a civil way like that, then I mean, you got to do it. Like, there's
yeah,
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I went into business, if I'm running a company and I go into business with another company, we are gonna draw up a contract.
yeah, for
And
sure.
if anything happens and I feel like I was mistreated or they feel like they're mistreated, we're gonna go to court to handle this dispute. That's why we have the court system. And I think that's a big thing that people don't realize. Like, oh, if you're my homeboy, then why we need to know? No, like, it doesn't matter how close you are to people. Granted, I mean, people even go into marriages and get prenups. So it's like, bro, like, that's a
Yeah,
lifetime commitment. That's a life partner, somebody that you want to be with forever. And they're still doing things like this because it's not so much that it's about a trust thing or anything like that. It's just like, these are the things that need to go down because it's more so accountability.
yeah,
um if we're going to go into business together, like me and you, we've already talked about like everything that we want to do with this YouTube channel as far as growing and anything like that. If we get monetized, then we'll deal with that as the situation comes. But I think that me and you are pretty much on the same page when it comes to everything. Like, there
yeah,
will be decisions that will need to be made, but most of the time we don't run decisions without talking to each other.
exactly. Yeah,
So, I mean, we have a mutual understanding in that aspect, and it can be like that. But the thing is like, once things start becoming like, I don't like what you're doing, this, and that, then that's when you need to draw up a contract and just be like, look,
hmm
man, like, I trust you, but like, let's just draw this up so that we just have a mutual understanding and we can just like go our separate ways, worst case scenario. But that's not meaning that like I don't trust you. That just
hmm
means that like, okay, as far as like putting responsibility on the business aspect, like, we need to do this in the long term, because the more that we do this now, say we want to go in different directions and we haven't set up anything legally, anything binding, then we're kind of just we're doing more work in the long run. So
exactly. Yeah, for
it,
sure. But yeah, man, it's just and this is another interesting thing I was thinking about based on the talks that we had. The talk that we had with Black Phoenix.
mhm.
And it's just interesting now, especially with YouTube and the super like capitalistic nature of America, like the American dream. Whereas I think in a lot of other countries, there is still a lot of stock that's put into tertiary education. Like, there's still a lot of weight where, people are going to college and they're getting jobs or whatever. But in a lot of times, it's pretty much if I can get into this college or if I can afford college. Sorry, where in America, it's like the education system is just so low quality unless you have money that, as you said before, it's like with the internet age, you can learn almost anything on YouTube. I've learned so much stuff from YouTube, and you don't even need college anymore because you can become a streamer,
Oh, you can't say that.
influencer.
You can't say that. You can't say that. That's illegal.
What's illegal?
Yeah, you can't tell kids not to go to college.
Oh yeah, okay. Stay in school, kids.
No, but I mean, truthfully, I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm just saying weigh out your options, and truthfully, that's on the parents to kind of like allow, like, pretty much as a parent, if your kid's going to college, you need to lay out like the foundation of like, yo, this is what going to college means. Like, granted, yes, if we're going to do it, but that means you better be in school. And the first year that you like ain't in school doing what you need to be doing, you're either paying for college or you're getting it. Because like what I'm probably going to end up doing is, my daughter will have my GI Bill, but I have my other daughter who I need to figure out, which will probably be my retirement, will go towards her. But with that being said, I'll probably just send her to community college first to see if she wants to do it. And it's kind of like how the Europeans do it, where it's like you go to a trade school or like a vocational school, and you kind of just like see what you want to do. And if that's what you want to do, then you fully pursue it. But I think that allowing her to go into community college and also work, if she's going to community college, she can get an unpaid internship and a potential career field that she wants to go into, and kind of just test the waters and see what she wants to do. So, that's just me personally. I know what I'm going to do with my daughters as far as that, because based off of what I learned, I wouldn't want them to go to a 4-year university. Not to mention, like, there's no supervision at these 4-year universities. Like, it's literally like, yo, do whatever you want.
Sink or swim. Yeah, do whatever you want.
So,
and they don't make it easier on the kids. It's all the parties and all this other random stuff they got.
Yeah, but it's literally, like you said, a daycare for young adults.
Yeah. Like, that's literally what it is. But man, it's rough for the kids growing up. And again, I'm not saying kids don't go to school, but I think the core issue is don't buy into the hype. Like, understand, as Will was pointing out, if I'm going to go to college, what am I going to go for? Yes, you want to go to college, say for instance, and you want to do art, right? Say you're an artist. Look into the research and look into the fields of like, oh, how much does an artist make?
Yeah.
What type of art do I want to do? Do I want to be a graphic designer? Do I want to be an illustrator? How much money do they make? Because not all the time, you're not going to get what you want all the time, but maybe you can meet it halfway, like, I want to do this, but this is close to this, but this actually gets me paid. You know what I mean?
And the thing is too, like, you can take these classes like at community colleges half the time. Like, if you want to be a graphic designer, like you can take graphic design classes, programming. My mom was telling me a couple, like, during COVID, they were literally giving away free courses to program, like to learn Linux, to learn Adobe, to learn not Adobe. Is it?
Nah, not Adobe.
Not Adobe.
Like Linux, probably like Python and C++ and all those other programming languages.
That's what I'm
Java,
JavaScript.
Yeah, Java and JavaScript.
Yeah, so like they were giving away all these free courses so that people could learn this stuff, because the demand for these jobs is getting higher. We've already talked about the tech world, like, is growing tremendously. Technology is the future and everything like that, and there's not enough people wanting to go into these career fields. So now these companies are literally having to be like, yo, like, either we got to give these courses away for free, or like we got to figure out a way to get people into these career fields. And my mom said even at that point, people weren't going. Like these classes weren't filling up. So it's like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like college is kind of just becoming one of those things where it's like, but the thing is like there is a lot to be learned at college if you're going into a career field that is going to that requires work essentially.
It
Like
requires work.
everybody wants to go into these career fields that don't necessarily require the most work, that don't like essentially contribute to society on a grander scale. And then they wonder why nobody is trying to give them a job. It's like, yo, if you're doing everything that everybody else is doing, what are you really offering?
Exactly. Because I think, as you mentioned, just to piggyback off of that, is that I think in America, the school culture has gone away from actually going to school to become a professional, to just, oh, I'm going to school to become the first person to get a degree in my family, or I'm getting a degree because everyone is doing
But that's
it.
at a base level. That's not
At a base level. And then when you add on the inflation, you add on the culture of like, oh, I need a party because that's what everyone is doing. And it's like, to just go back on the whole tech thing, low key, a lot of these tech jobs, you don't need to go to college. Like, going to college will make you better, but a lot of these tech companies are looking for experience. So say, for instance, you're a 17-year-old and you're about that life, and say 5 programming languages, and you have a portfolio of apps that you built and all this stuff, or you have hacking capabilities. Like, you can get a job off of the rip just like that.
Facts.
So
Like even computer science, like I was talking to my homeboy about it because he followed my gaming channel for a little while, and then I told him I was going back into school and everything, and he's like, yeah, like computer science is like, there's so many different fields that you can go into as far as like what you want to do. So it's not even like generalized, like, oh, you're a computer science major, like you have to do this job. No, it opens up the doors to like what you want to do, and you just do a bunch of different things until you find that one thing that you want to do. And truthfully, with the way that the workforce is today, you can do something that is minimal and still make decent money, bro. Like as long as you have that degree. So the benefits of going to college do kind of outweigh the downside to it sometimes. It's going to take a lot more responsibility, a lot more drive, a lot more dedication to what you want to achieve. And that's why a lot of more people who have degrees, who are successful with degrees, do a lot better than the people who are complaining like, oh, I'm in student loans, this and that. And it's like, well, what are you doing? I mean, the military took you with student loans. Like people join the military, pay off their student loans, and then you got people like, I'm not joining the military because this and that. It's like, bro, you could join the military and be a dentist, like straight up, like a dental assistant. Like everything. I mean, this is a false misconceptions that if you wait long enough, you can really get any job you want if you study, especially like coming out of college, and you like, all right, if you can wait a year, most likely you'll get the job that you want. And the thing is too is like, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, what if I don't get the job that I want to do? Then you get experience in something else.
Exactly. You have a plan B.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is like, you're going to do the same thing whether you joined or not, but now you have a lot more benefits when it comes to joining. And I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, I know plenty of people who gotten out, they just don't want to deal with somebody telling them what to do and having a schedule that is like not based off of what you want to do and like all this stuff. I mean, you got out, like, and that's the thing is like, I'm close enough that I'm just kind of like chilling now.
It might as well stay in.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of things to kind of like get myself in a point where I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I mean, I'm still only beginning when it comes to like what I want to do. I mean, I need to apply myself a little bit more, which I have been doing in the last 2 years. So I'm not worried about my military career, to be honest. Like I'm in the groove, bro. Like I got a set goal, and that's the decision that I made for myself, because truthfully, 5 years ago, I was essentially thinking about getting out and going back to school using my GI Bill. I was going to go to school in Amsterdam and kind of just work at a cafe and just go to school and get my computer science degree and then learn from their culture, because I hadn't been to Europe at that point. And I was like really intrigued with like how they run things in Amsterdam as far as like my business ventures that I was going to pursue. And I had already seen Japan. So this experience in Europe opened my eyes to a lot of things. And truthfully, I made a lot of sacrifices joining the military and not doing school earlier and everything like that. But like, I'm still better off than a lot of people who are still paying student loan debts and just being in the system of like, yo, I'm going to work until these student loans are being paid off and stuff like that. And that's not to say that I'm better than anybody or anything like that, but like, I made the choice that I didn't want to be a slave to student loan debts. And truthfully, I'd rather my sister go into college than I go to college, because I knew, like you said, it's a daycare. Bro, I would have went to college and I was just like literally just partied all the time. Like I was 18, 19, like why would I go to class, bro?
Exactly.
Like I just got out the house. I have all this freedom. Nobody's really telling me. I mean, I could be put on academic probation and stuff like that. But like, truthfully, like college is meant for people who can kind of like push themselves and drive themselves without the help of others. Yeah. So if you don't have that, then I mean, but the thing is that's a part of growing up. That's a part of life. And even after that, I mean, a lot of people can't deal with the stress of like what comes after college, like finding a job, doing jobs that you don't like, just dealing with everything that's like the repercussions of it, because then you have to move away from your friends, your family, and it's a whole cycle. It's a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of growing and becoming an individual, becoming somebody who's solo dependent on themselves, things like that. Like, and that's the thing too that we've talked about, like with the generation coming up and dealing with emotional issues, and we'll get into that later. But for the most part, before like, let's get on these facts before we wrap everything up. But some of the things that are just that we have to deal with like the student loans and college and everything like that. So one is just like generational inequality. They talked about this because, like we said, everything that we talked about, if you're paying student loans and you can't contribute to society as far as like the market, the housing market, like owning a business, buying a business, like putting money into the economy and stocks, bonds, all types of things, like you're already behind a lot of people when it comes to that. And that's a huge problem. Maybe not right now, but in the future it will be.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing too, is like nobody's thinking. I mean, people are thinking about the future, but like right now, stuff is sweet for a lot of people. So they're just like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. Like a lot of people aren't even thinking about like what's going to happen after they die. They're just like, well, when I die, I die. Like they're just like, they don't care about the next generation. They don't care about society growth. Like as long as what they want to do is fine right now, that's all that matters.
Good, yeah.
But that's the thing too, is like, okay, we think about like all these dudes, all these kids, all these people essentially paying off student loans right now. Like if they're going to be paying off loans for the next 10 years, and I mean, even the ones still going into college and having to do like 10, 20 years, like at some point it's going to be a huge problem where it's like, there's going to be more people who are homeless. There's going to be more people not being able to fulfill the career paths that we need in order to grow as a society. And I mean, based off the numbers that I looked up, they said $158.5 billion in student loans are in default right now. And they're saying that it's probably going to grow a lot higher once, so I guess they put a pause on student loans for payments because of the pandemic and everything like that. But like, I mean, people are still struggling. Like people are still not getting jobs. People are still staying in the house because they don't want to go out because of the whole pandemic and everything like that. And that's understandable. But once this bubble pops, like it's going to like really hit us because a lot of people are still just going to be struggling. And it's like, granted, student loans are set up to be manageable, but people still default on them. So it's not like it's a safety net where it's like, yeah, man, whenever you throw us the money, like just get it to us. Like, no, it has more lenient restrictions on it so that it's feasible for college students. But either way, the bank's going to get their money no matter what. They talked about like most loans, like, yeah, the interest rates are lower. You don't need a cosigner. You don't need credit history, fixed interest rates. You can defer repayment to like after you're out of college and everything like that. But the thing about it is, it's still a loan.
But so, you know why? You know why it's so easy for student loans? Why? Like having that low interest rate and all that other good stuff on the surface is because student loans are one of the only class of loans that are backed 100% by the government. So you absolutely cannot go for Title 10, as they call it, or Title 11, bankruptcy. So you're stuck with that until you die.
Yeah, and when you die, that's really the only way to get out of it. Because, like, I mean, if you die, they're just like, all right, whatever. Like, we squeezed every penny out of them we could.
Yeah, man, that's the insidious thing about it. And it's like, it's crazy to me how, you can be an 18-year-old not knowing anything about life, and you get all these loans that you have to pay back. And it's like, wow.
And the thing is like, you're not thinking about that when you're just like, oh man, I'm going to college. Like, it's paid for. Like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. And 3 years later, you're just like looking like Squidward in that thing. Like, it's like, yo, I hate everybody. Like, I mean, not everybody. I mean, some people do really amazing at school, but I mean, there's a vast majority that don't do good at college. Like, and I mean, people drop out. I mean, I dropped out not so much because I couldn't do it, but I just didn't want to. Like, it wasn't. I looked at life realistically from a young age, and truthfully, I was like, bro, I'm paying all this money to go to college, and I was paying out of pocket for some of it. The second time I went to college, because my mom was like, yeah, like, nah, homeboy. She was like, nah. And it's like, and that was the thing. It's like, all right, cool. And I think I had like the FAFSA for like one of them, or one of the things. But either way, like, I was coming out of pocket for this stuff, and I was like, bro, I'm working 3 jobs to pay for college, and I'm like literally coming into school for one class. Like, interpersonal communication was the only class I liked. Everything else, I was just like, yo, this is boring. And it's just like, you're sitting in class, everything's more professional. It's not like high school where everybody's just like, hey, yo, like, let's just, like, nah, teachers were like, literally like, yo, get out of my class. Like, so that's another level of it. It's like, yo, it's stricter. Like, it's not just like, yo, come in here and mess around. Like, college is a business, bro. Like, it's literally like, yo, just what you want to learn, come in here to learn it. If you're not trying to learn it, get out of my class. You're disrupting all the other students, because now everybody else is paying to be there. So truthfully, like, it is what it is. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I think another thing about it in America too, which is kind of good and kind of bad, I guess, depending on how you look at it, is that trades are low key so underlooked, and undervalued. I know there's even someone that I work with right now. He went to school. I think he said he went to like a community college, or like a technical college for aircraft maintenance, and he paid like maybe $10,000 because A&P is an expensive thing to do. So he got his A&P, and he's pretty much been working in aviation for like 20 plus years. And he's making money. And it's like, being a plumber, electrician, all this stuff, you don't have to go into the military, but if you go into the military, boom, that's a free skill set. Like, even the job I have now is just, I didn't have a degree or anything. It was literally, oh, you have 7 years of avionics, experience. Boom, here's a job. So
that's the thing too. Is like, I mean, yeah, we're both in aircraft mechanics. I mean, you could still get your A&P and your radio operator degree. Can't remember what that one's called. I
have that actually.
Yeah, so I got the radio license. Yeah, I got that one, and then I'm working on my A&P at some point. I mean, but the thing is, I'll probably do it when I get back to the States, to be honest, because it's an online course. You do all the CBTs and everything like that. CBTs is a web-based.
Computer-based training.
Yeah, computer-based training. And you have 6 months to complete the course, which most of the time it takes people like 2-3 months, if that. And you can do it at your own pace. It's like literally like log in whenever you want to do it, which I think I got to re-up mine, but I'm about to start studying for promotion. But either way, Speaking of, I need to do that today. But either way, so coming in as an aircraft mechanic, I learned a lot of the stuff that you would learn from an A&P license, and essentially it just translates into the civilian world. And then I could just go work for Delta. I know plenty of people who work for other privatized airlines and things like that, and I mean they make over $100,000 like easily.
Yeah, contracting easy. Like
Yeah.
I know a kid. I know a kid that he was not that great like in the military. Like he couldn't conform. Like he's one of those goofballs.
Yeah.
And he PCS. He moved. I don't know what PCS means, but he moved to another base in the States because this is when I was in Japan. And he moved to another base in the States, got out, and this is when he was like 19, 20. Got his A&P, and then I actually met up with him while I was deployed in the Middle East, and he was making $100,000 just with the A&P and a clearance.
Yeah.
And that's it. He didn't go to school at all. He had like his house. He had like 2 vehicles. $100,000, man.
So the only thing about that is like you work on contract, so it's not always a guaranteed job. So it's a highly competitive market. We don't want to make it seem like it's easy, but like I've talked to a couple of contractors. I mean, when I was in Kadena, I was talking to one of the techs, a dude who outranked me, and this is when I was still in Kadena's Japan. But I was also just thinking about should I get out the military at that point? And I was talking to one of the dudes who's like, he'd been in for like 14, 15 years. And he was like, look, man, like, I know they tell you that like getting out and becoming a civilian contractor is like all this the greatest thing that could ever happen. But he like really broke it down to where he was trying to do it. And he's like, you work on a contract. So your contract should be like 1 to 2 years. And then after that, you have to like campaign for a job. Like you have to be like, building a resume and being like, yo, this is why I'm qualified for this job, this and that. And unless you want to be going to the desert all the time, like just going to Afghanistan, Iraq, all these countries that are in the middle of nowhere, not in the middle of nowhere, but like you're essentially deployed. You go on these trips for maybe like 6 months to a year, and you're away from everything. And it's like, unless you want to do that, and a lot of dudes do that because a lot of single dudes do that. But like if you have a family and everything like that, like it's not beneficial to you.
Yeah, no.
So those jobs are easy to get, or not easy, but they're more, you have a better opportunity. Yeah, you have a better opportunity to get in jobs like that than saying like, oh, I want to work in San Antonio, Texas and just stay here. And even with that being said, I mean, you might work at the airport in San Antonio or something like that and make like $75,000, $80,000 a year, but it's not going to be like what you could be potentially making with the same degree, the same training, the same as somebody who's like just doing it somewhere else. Like they had Dowdy had a dude, he was like a floater. So essentially he just goes to different bases or different locations where Dowdy works, and essentially he's just like on call. Like if they need more help in another location, he just gets on the plane and flies there. So that's another thing too, is like if you want to travel and things like that, like there's plenty of jobs out there that you can go to a technical school, learn how to do one specific thing, whether it be fix an airplane engine, be a plumber, things like that, and you can travel the world doing these things. So I don't know. I mean, college is like, it really limits you, because on top of that, it's a 4-year commitment, sometimes more, depending on if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, things like that. And that's a long time out of your life, to be honest. I mean, I joined the military and I experienced a lot more than like what most people have experienced. I've been around the world 3 times. So, I mean, it's something that people have to figure out. Do you want to just pay student loans for the rest of your lives and work a regular job and just like kind of just not do what you feel like you're living up to your highest potential?
Yeah.
Or do you want to make the sacrifices and then still do everything that you want to do later on in life, but realizing that it's going to take a lot more time?
So yeah, I mean, that's a question that everyone has to ask themselves. And, you know, I think this all boils down to where, you know, in America, when it comes into the whole college system, it is what it is.
Hmm.
But it just all boils down to self-reflection, like how grounded you are, like what type of support network you have as a young person growing up, who you have around you to put you on game. Because I mean, unfortunately, some of us didn't have that growing up. But you know, it's all about research and being grounded and being on your purpose and know what you want to do. Because just to clear up any misconceptions, like I don't have anything against college. Like I definitely like the only reason why I went into the military, even met Will, is because I had student loans. If I could have afforded college, I would have not been in the military, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like you have a purpose, you have a goal, and you be like, okay, I want to be a doctor, so I need to go to college for my undergrad, then I need to go to med school. But if you're kind of like going going to college because it's the good thing to do, it's the end thing to do, don't go.
Yeah.
There's many other things that you could do now in 2021, whether that's making money on the internet, having your own business, going into a trade. There's so many options that people are so blinded to because society tells them like, oh, you gotta go to college, you gotta go to college, you gotta go to college. And it's not right. It's messing up the economy for the average working person. So
Yeah.
that's
And the
just
thing
my
is
thoughts on
too
it.
is like I mean truthfully, if you have an idea, it's not hard to go get a business loan. Like
Yeah.
you draw up a business plan. Uh I'd rather, I mean, truthfully, if I was a parent and my daughter came to me with a business plan and she drew it out and everything would work, I would feel more comfortable about co-signing with her on a business loan than trying to put her through 4 years of college.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In America,
Because I
yeah.
mean, with $40,000, I mean, maybe that's just Europe, but with $40,000, you could probably start a decent business. Like, it's not going to be the ideal business. It's not going to be the perfect business. And truthfully, if you really budgeted and you were like really strict with your budget, you
Hmm.
could probably get it down to like, I would say don't go under $30,000, because then that's when you start cutting a lot of corners that you probably don't want to cut. But I say $40,000 because if you get a decent location, you can cover about 6 months worth of rent, and this is based off of the business plan that I've built. So you can do about 6 months worth of rent, but like in that 6 months, you have to be grinding for profit. Like, it's, if you start a business loan and you start a business, there's no like partying bullshit. Like, literally everything has to be about this business because you only have a 6 month time frame to kind of make it work. And granted, you have a 6 months grace period because you can use the 6 months, the money that's incorporated in the loan to pay the rent for that time, so you can focus more on the business. But after that 6 months, now you have to start coming out of pocket for it. So just think about it like that. Like, if everything is set up in that 6 months and then you're still having to come out of pocket, but you're so slowly making like money in that aspect, then it's fine. But I mean, truthfully, like you said, like everything's on YouTube, like everything's in books, like the knowledge is there. I mean, just start reading. I mean, truthfully, I read, I watch a lot of videos, I educate myself more. And I mean, self-education is a big part of like why
It's
a lot of
key.
entrepreneurs are more successful. They study people, like study people who are successful that you want to follow and see what they did. I mean, granted, like think about Denzel Washington and like Waka Flocka, like all type of the people who graduated college when they were like well beyond like they were successful already, and then they were like, yo,
Mm.
I'm gonna go back to college, like because there's so much more to learn in life than just making money. Making money
Exactly.
will be a means to an end, but it's not the end all be all, because once you have money, the only thing that you can seek after that is knowledge. And knowledge is more important than money, because if you know how to make money, then knowledge will take you a lot farther in life in general than you could ever imagine. So don't take this as like us bashing going to college or anything like
Oh
that,
no,
or
no, no.
student loans and stuff like that. But the biggest takeaway that we want to give for this talk is think more about what you want to do. Make a 5 year plan, make a 10-year plan. And if things are starting to change and kind of shift in your life that aren't beneficial to meeting those goals, meeting those things, just take it out of your life, essentially. If you're going to go to college, buckle down, focus on college. You can party when you get out of college. You can do all these things that your friends are, oh, it's going to be the greatest thing. No, it's not. There's always going to be something better. Like, I recently went to a party that was like probably one of the dopest parties I've been to in like a long time. Like, and that was me at like 32. So it's like, yo, there's always going to be another party. There's always going to be another event. There's always going to be something. And you have to focus on yourself. Like, go to college, get it done. After college, pay off your student loans, start a business, work with your friends. Like, that's a big thing too. Is like, everybody feels like they have to do these things alone.
We don't.
You can put a community pop together and be like, okay, me and my 5 friends, we all graduated college. We'll put this much money into paying off each other's student loans, student debts, things like that, and do the snowball effect. Now, yeah, you run the risk of like somebody just changing up, but like, it's just one of those things. I mean, life is about taking risks. If you don't take any risks, then you'll probably never get what you want. Like, so everybody has to start somewhere, and truthfully, just find out what works for you. I mean, that was probably a bad example, but I'm just here to give a example, and everybody's blueprint is different. Everybody's, what they figure out is going to work differently. So don't let anybody discourage you, and just kind of just get it done. I mean, student loan isn't forever. If you have to just buckle down and do it, if you got to work 3 jobs, that's what you got to do. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, when we look at it, like, nobody's coming to save you. Oh, excuse me. As much as we want to think that they're just going to abolish all these student loans and open up the market and make everybody like kind of equal on common grounds, like, I mean, I wouldn't stake my bet on it. Like, and I think a lot of people, and maybe not a lot of people, I hate generalizing things, but I think that people in general are hoping that it happens. So they're kind of planning for like, well, if this happens, all this money I kind of been saving is going to come in. But just plan for the worst and expect the best. So
yeah. So just my final remarks on it. I just got 2 things. I think one, it's very important to look out for a mentor or someone you can learn from, someone you can follow, that you can pick their brain. Because I think a lot of the times, especially us men, we think that we know it all, or that we can just do everything by ourselves. But being able to take your pride away, take your ego away, and to be humble and be like, hey, I see you doing big things. How can I be like you? What is your blueprint? What can you teach me? The hunger for knowledge, that's what I think is the key thing that drives a lot of successful people. And 2, not only do you buckle down, you have the discipline, you have the self-awareness, you have the drive to do school or to do your trade or to go in the military or whatnot, but think about your decisions as logically as possible. And it goes into the planning thing that Will was talking about. What do I logically want my end result to be, and what steps and how many steps, and what do I have to do with each step to get to my end goal? And I think if people do that and think about big life decisions like going to college or picking up a trade and whatnot, I think it will pretty much not work itself out, but a lot of people will be in better shape.
Yeah, I mean, it will work itself out.
Yeah, so
it's just everything takes time. You're not going to figure it out the first time. Some people get lucky and they do. I mean, you see hyper aggressive, hyper successful people on Instagram, Facebook, all these things, but that's not, you don't know what they had to go through to get to that point. And a lot of like what we're learning from growing our channel and just kind of coming up is it's not just like, yo, post a video, yo, it's not, there's so much stuff that we do behind the scenes, and there's so much more that we can do behind the scenes. And we have, as always, like, we have a lot of stuff coming, and it's just trusting in the process, to be honest. Like, trust that whatever you believe in is going to help and eventually grow into something better. So, I mean, we're not perfect by far. I mean, there's still a lot that we can learn. I mean, I'm starting to pick up more books and everything like that, because like we have a lot of general talks about topics, and I've already been told like we need to hit our facts and things like that. And I mean, that is true. A lot of these talks are general, based off of what we know now. But every talk that we have, we're probably going to reattack once we have more research, once we have more hardcore facts. And that's our channel growth, is to give the most factual, unbiased opinion of these situations. Because truthfully, I mean, we look at each other as neutrals for the most part. Sometimes Pop feels a little strongly about other things, but I mean, I feel strongly about a lot of things too. But for the most part, we try to stay in a neutral ground and just give a different perspectives, so that everybody can like just kind of either argue with us or agree with us, or just say, hey, look at this. Because I mean, even the comments that we've had on a lot of our posts have like led us to other information to dig into and to dive into. And excuse me, that's why we can continue to kind of grow this channel, because we are constantly growing as people. And I'm looking forward to everything. So I appreciate y'all for stopping by. As always, as Pop says, if you made it this far, then you obviously like what you see. It's probably a little bit of me, but I'm just playing. But we just having fun with this at this point. Yo, I need to stop. I need help. Yo, I'm going to the gym. I got to get my life together. But until next time, we'll catch
Peace
y'all.
out.
Peace.
Thank you.